name is Justin Ashley. I'm an account manager here on the Yardi screening team. And today what we're going to do is we're going to spend some time running through screening best practices, sort of, standardized, filling out the guest card, all of the things that are important to screening, things to keep in mind as it relates to screening, then interpreting the screening results after the fact. And then separately from that, I'm also going to focus some specific attention on income verification. This is a newer process that your team has started to utilize with us. And the goal, of course, is to streamline and drive as much efficiency as we can into the income verification process, making it as easy as we can for you. And of course, there's a lot of questions, a lot of thoughts that come out of that. So I want to make sure that we take the time to answer those questions and field some concerns or review specific examples that you all have. So we're going to do this session in a couple of phases. The first one isn't going to focus on income verification at all. It is just going to look at screening overall, what that looks like, and then we'll dive in from there. So with that said, I'm logged into CRM. I am in a training environment, sort of a test space. So things might look a little bit different than they do for your workflow, but I'll talk about that as I move through it. Whether applicants are applying online or you are building them out manually, generally they're applying online, but whether they're applying online or you are building them out manually, first thing I would say is data integrity is the most important thing. Data integrity is paramount. So wherever possible, whenever possible, always double check the information entered into the prospect's guest card prior to screening, if possible. Right? I understand if auto screening is set up, if everything happens automatically, you're not getting to see the data beforehand. Someone else does something, it just goes through. There's only so much you could do, but wherever possible, whenever possible, try to double check all of the information for accuracy before moving forward with the screening. So is their name spelled right? Is their address incorrectly? Is the dollar value input for their income stated correctly? All of those sorts of things. Because if there's any changes there, if there's any inconsistencies or inaccuracies in that data, those changes or those inconsistencies are going to negatively impact your screening result, which could drive a decline, et cetera, or you might be missing, pertinent information. So today, our guest card, our two guests are Charlene Knight and an occupant as well. So Charlene is our primary occupant. We're going to start at the top of the guest card, filling out all of our required fields, everything else that you'll need for your workflow. Anything with an asterisk, of course, is required. So Charlene Knight is our primary today. Anything else you need to add into your workflow as part of your internal process, you certainly can. We don't need those other things for screening purposes, but fill those out as necessary, compile those as necessary. As you move forward, click on save or click on next or click on save and continue. You never want to jump all the way through all of this, as you'll see me do because I'm in a test space. You want to click next, sort of continue as you move through. Activities, this is where you'll just have follow-up information. Again, we don't need this for screening purposes, but always good to track your communication cycles with prospects here, so add those as necessary. From there, we jump down to preferences. This is where you'll just punch in an expected move-in date for the prospect a little bit out into the future. And then depending on your workflow, you may have certain amenities listed here also. Once you've continued that, save and continue. And this brings us down to occupants. So occupants, this is where you'll add anyone who's going to be a part of the home by one. If you have 5 people in, you'll add them here one at a time. Clicking add occupants. Again, the steps I'm showing you are if you are adding these folks manually. If you're not adding them manually and you're just sort of going through the motions, then what I'm showing you is still valuable because you still want to double check all of this information all along the way if you can. So this is where you can either add or review and edit existing occupants one by one, clicking that edit button below. This will pull up Donald's information. And again, just as before, we want to double check or enter for the first time all of the required fields, anything else we need in our workflow. And there's a couple important things to note in here. The first is the relationship type field dropdown. We have roommate, spouse, guarantor, or other. Generally, you're going to want this to say roommate. If it is a guarantor, if you're using a guarantor, which we'll talk about later on, you want to use the guarantor relationship type, but only for that situation. Otherwise, you are using roommate for everyone. Anyone who is not a guarantor should be using roommate, spouse, or other. Also important in this section are what we call four personal identifiers. Four personal identifiers. Those four identifiers are an applicant's name, an applicant's address, an applicant's date of birth, and an applicant's social security number. These four pieces of data are very integral to the screening process, and for that reason, data accuracy here is paramount. If Donald's legal given name is Donald, then you want to make sure you have that, not Don or Donnie or Donna or Donald with 3 extra characters at the end of his name. That will negatively impact the screening results. That can result in the wrong information being sent back. So again, wherever possible, double check that data for accuracy. But fill out everything you need to for your occupants here, one by one, or edit as necessary. Double check validity. Make sure that it's all good. Click on continue as you move forward. That'll bring you to the select unit phase. From here, simple enough. Go ahead and select the appropriate unit as you need to. And click on continue from there. That'll jump you down to rentable options. From here, we're just going to click our expected move-in date field and tab our way through. So it auto-populates these dates. You'll notice if you want to change your lease term from 12 to say 18 months, you can hit tab and it auto-populates that date change below. So just keep that in mind as you move through this to populate that correctly. Click save and continue again. It'll jump you down to the rentable items section. Depending on your workflow, you might have some here. We don't have any in our test space, so that's fine. Jumping down to concessions, again, depending on your workflow, you might have some listed there. So populate those as needed. This brings us to the application form step. Here we're going to fill out some more information for these folks. At this point, up to this juncture, if you've been building the guest card manually, everything you've populated up to this point has pulled itself through as we've moved forward. If you're just coming back to look at an existing guest card that someone created from online or someone else created at your property, you're coming back to it. Again, most of the data should have pulled through, but always double check it to make sure. So we'll check each of these applicants one by one, clicking on the applicants drop down on the right there, starting with Charlene at the top. And we'll fill out a couple of these things or double check data for a couple of these things. So Charlene Knight, again, full name is all of the details in there. Is everything correct as it should be based on your understanding of the information? Important note here, the social security number field for your primary or for your occupants. If your applicants have a social security number, an actual social security number that belongs to them, not a CPN number or anything like that. If they have an actual social that is theirs, put that social in here at this time. If they do not have a social, leave that field completely blank. Do not put any other data into that field. So zeros, ones, sevens, nines, tax ID numbers, passport numbers, none of that stuff will work in their visa numbers. It has to be an actual social security number. If they don't have one, totally fine. Leave it blank, and we'll let the screening do the work for us. Jump down to address information for Charlene, double check it for accuracy or input it for the first time. A couple important notes in the address section. Must be a physical US-based address or Puerto Rico. It cannot be a PO box. So physical US-based address or Puerto Rico, it cannot be a PO box. It can't be from Canada, Latin America, Australia, the UK. Has to be US-based. It cannot be a PO box. Additionally, make sure that there's no punctuation in this section either. So periods, hyphens, parentheses, commas, colons, semicolons, things like that. Make sure there's no punctuation in there as well. Also important to screening is the employer information. This will cite their initial stated income, gross monthly income calculated monthly, additional income calculated annually. So if they make $5,000 a month, you put it in the top field. If they make $50,000 annually, you'll place that in the bottom field. So just make sure to input those as necessary. And then beneath that, these other items, we do not need these for screening purposes, but you might be able to fill you may need to fill these out for your own internal workflow. Emergency contact, vehicles, and pet information. And there is this, screening question saying at the bottom, again, we don't need this for our workflow, but if you need to compile this internally, you certainly can. So all of that is for Charlene. We click on save once we've completed hers, and then we're repeating those same steps for Donald and for anyone else in the home. Double check his information. Is everything in? Is everything accurate? Does he have a social? If so, leave it there. If not, leave it completely blank. Fill out the rest of the info for Donald as well. Double check everything for accuracy. Click on save for him, and save and continue as you move forward once you've completed all of those folks. Application charges, as your workflow dictates, application fees, holding deposits, rental fees, etc. Process those as needed. Click on continue again. That brings you to application status. And then from here, we're ready to jump into this screening button up top. We're going to click a couple more things and then get a screening underway for these folks. Before I go into that next page, I'm going to pause for a second, take a quick breath, take a drink. Any questions so far based on what I've touched on? And if you have questions along the way as you think about them, you don't have to wait for a lull in the conversation or anything like that. I know there's a lot of folks on, but if you have any questions along the way, go ahead and drop them in the chat as you're thinking about them. Absolutely fine to do. And I'll come back and take a look at those and read them out as soon as I see them. But any questions so far before I move forward?
I just want to let everyone know, if you do not have a U.S. address, so we would do what we normally do, is just use a property address for those that are truly coming off the plane.
Excellent. Perfect. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, no questions. Let's keep it going then. Okay, so hit the screening button page. There's a couple more things that we want to look at now here. We're going to start by clicking our applicants on the bottom here. So Charlene and Donald again, we're going to fill out a couple more things and then get these folks going. So I'll click on Charlene. I'll scroll down to the bottom. Forgot to click on her name. Click on Charlene, scroll down to the bottom. And similar to before, we have a couple of other options. We're just double checking everything, filling out a few more fields. So again, for Charlene, the first place we want to stop is here. Photo ID has been verified, yes, no. This is just one additional stopping point for your team to say, to the best of my knowledge, Charlene's information, name, address, date of birth, social, is correct, not transposed, everything's spelled correctly. So this has to say yes. Second place we stop is below that, active include with request. This is a yes, no field as well. And this references whether or not this particular person, Charlene, is going to be active and included with the next screening request that goes out. By default, anyone above the age of 18 set to be included should always be set to active yes. Conversely, anyone under the age of 18 should always be set to active no by default, but always double check it for accuracy just to make sure. Next place we stop is the social security number field. As we see, it's required in this section. All of this data is pulling through from that application form step that we saw before. So if it was correct there, it should be correct here. But if up to this point you haven't entered in a social for the prospect because they don't have one, absolutely fine. For that, you just check this SSN NA slider beneath it, and it makes that field no longer required. Again, if they do not have a social, leave that field completely blank. Any erroneous data input into that field that isn't their actual social will negatively impact the screening results. So if they don't have one, totally fine. Leave it blank, check the slider there, and we'll let the screening do the work for us without it. Similarly, the same is true of the last name field and suffixes. So name, suffix, junior, senior, first, second, third, etc. If they have a suffix and you see it, go ahead and use it. If you don't see the suffix you need, that's fine, leave it blank. But also do not enter the suffix into the last name field because that too can negatively impact the screening results. Jump down to address info one more time, double check it all for accuracy. Physical US-based addresses only or Puerto Rico, no PO boxes, no punctuation. As stated, if your applicant does not have a physical US-based address, you can utilize the property address in a pinch. If they've been going to school locally nearby, you can use that, or local family friend address if they've been staying there, as dictated by your internal policy. And then finally, employer information, double checking that for accuracy one final time. Employment income calculated monthly, other income calculated annually. So $50,000 a year goes in the yearly field, $5,000 per month goes in the monthly field. Once you're all set for Charlene, click on save. Go back to applicants, repeat those same steps for Donald, and again, anyone else in the home. So photo ID, yes. Active include with request, yes. If he's above the age of 18, and he should be included, make sure that's good. Socials in. If he doesn't have one, leave it completely blank. Check the slider, let the screening do the work for us. Address info, double check it all for accuracy. No punctuation, US based only, physical. Employment data, double check that for accuracy, make sure it's good. Click on save for Donald. From there, we'll initiate a brand new report. Whatever report type is appropriate for your applicant at the time. So we'll do Yardi screening. We will click on select. And this will initiate a new screening. We're reaching out for credit records. We're reaching out for criminal, civil court, and rental history records as well. Usually after about 10 to 15 seconds or so, the screening result will pop up for us. If for some reason it doesn't, if you get an error message at this stage, or it just kind of crashes out, or it pops up for a quick second and then goes away, don't run it again. Don't screen it again or anything like that. Reach out to your management team, your coworkers. They might be able to assist you. Could be as simple as a pop-up blocker, a missing date field. Sometimes you'll see an error that says parsing, P-A-R-S-I-N-G, parsing XML input. That usually means there's some sort of punctuation in the address field or the name field. So it could be something simple like that. So if it doesn't pop up, after 10, 15 seconds, or you get some weird error or alert, reach out to your team or reach out to our team. We're more than happy to try and assist you with that. But in a perfect world, if it does go through, it should pop up and will look in part like this. Now, this screen will change slightly when we cover income verification later, but wanted to cover the sort of everything else on this screen first and what it all means. So top right, you're going to see the name of your property. Across the top, we have find applicant and help. We'll take a look at both of those momentarily. And then across the top, we have your overall application result. This is what you want to focus on. This is a comprehensive recommendation, whether it's 2 people or 12 people in a group. This is a group recommendation for all of them. And this is what you want to pay attention to. You can see one of 3 things here, either a large green bar, which we have today, meaning the result is accepted or conditionally accepted. A large red bar, meaning the result is rejected. Maybe they're rejected for criminal or for income or for credit history, whatever it might be. Or a large yellow bar, meaning that it's pending. Pending can happen because criminal searches are still in progress, civil court searches are still in progress, or the income verification process is still in progress. Whatever the reason for the pending, as soon as it is removed from a pending status, whether automatically by us or as a part of what your team is doing with income verification, it will automatically update itself once it's done with that process from pending to accepted or rejected based on any final results that we have. Down below, we see our group members set to active yes, Donald and Charlene listed there. We can click on their results individually. We do see items to review, so we want to take a look at that. As we click on Charlene's name, we still see the overall result at the top. Sometimes it matches the result along the side, sometimes it doesn't. You still want to focus on that overall result at the top. Also along this side, we have items to review. Items to review do not necessarily factor into the overall screening result, but they are things that you want to be cognizant of. In this case, we have checkpoint message in the credit report, so we definitely want to take a look at those. As we scroll down, we see Charlene's information in the middle, applicant information at the top, stated income here, just based on what was entered into the CRM system. And beneath that, an overview of all of the services that were run. So credit, criminal, civil court, rental history. You can also drill down into each of those tabs. It'll just let you know whether or not it meets property requirements. So not a lot your team needs to do with that. We're automatically factoring in criteria for this that Kim and I and the team have set up. So it'll just let you know whether or not they qualify based on those items. The one exception being the credit report. You always want to look at the credit report here for this big red checkpoint messages box below. So checkpoint messages are basically pointer data items from the credit bureaus that come back. And these pointer data items directly correlate to those 4 personal identifiers that I mentioned. If you can, again, for folks on the call, drop what a couple of those identifiers were in the chat for me. Someone asked me, what button did I press to get on this screen? That's a great question. So this is just a brand new report from CRM. So go back into screening again. And your CRM could look a little bit different. Sometimes you have a new report button at the top up here, or sometimes your report button is down at the bottom like this, where you have it like in this space where you grab a report and then you click select from here. So it's either there or it's up at the top, depending on how your view looks. But I grab that report in that way, run that brand new report. And then again, if there's no pop-up blocker issue, anything like that, it'll pop up this result page that we have here. So checkpoint messages, again, are pointer data items directly from the credit bureaus, and they directly correlate to those 4 personal identifiers that I mentioned earlier. And while there are tens of thousands of checkpoint messages out there, there are only about 40 or so that speak to potentially fraudulent activity. So for example, if Charlene's name is spelled incorrectly, there's 3 extra E's at the end of it. It's spelled as Charlie instead of Charlene. If Charlene's date of birth ends in 3-1 instead of 1-3, if her social ends in 8-1 instead of 1-8, if any of those things are incorrect, that initial information, it could return a potentially fraudulent checkpoint message. Examples of alerts you might see here: high probability SSN belongs to another person, SSN invalid, SSN mismatch, SSN shows deceased or retired. You might also see what I call negative buzzwords. So anytime you see the words fraudulent, suspicious, cautious, investigation, identity theft victim, things like that, consumer statement present, I think I said that one. But those sorts of things, those are the alerts to watch out for. It doesn't necessarily mean that that person is passing fraudulent information. It could be as simple as their name was misspelled, their social was transposed, something like that. But always look for those alerts, always look for those checkpoint messages. And if you see something flagged, go back and double check their information, their personal identifiers in CRM to make sure that everything is correct. If there's something misspelled, transposed, correct it, screen them again, completely brand new report, see if that checkpoint alert goes away. Also, another one to look out for in here, anytime you see the words frozen, freeze, or locked. Frozen, freeze, or locked. If you see those, it means the applicant's credit is frozen, and we can't see what their credit history is, so we don't know if they qualify on that front. So if you see frozen, freeze, or locked, you need to reach out to the applicant, let them know that they need to unlock their credit with all of the credit bureaus, let you know at the property level once that's done, and then you at the property level need to rescreen them again and see if that alert goes away for frozen credit. Any questions there on checkpoint messages or getting up to this point before I move forward? Nope. Okay, perfect.
Will everybody on the leasing teams have access to this or just certain levels?
Everyone on the leasing team should be able to see this credit section that I'm looking at. Everyone on the leasing team should be able to get to this page that I'm showing you. Absolutely.
Okay.
You won't see specific details in terms of like civil court, criminal. Like you're not going to know that Justin was declined for assault and battery in 2007. All you're going to know is that Justin was declined for not meeting criminal requirements. So
Okay.
it'll be generic in some respects, but for the credit report, you will be able to see this checkpoint alert, and you definitely want to look at that at the property level too.
Okay, thank you.
Of course, great question. Any other questions? Nope.
I have
Okay,
a question. So I do
Sure,
have a
go ahead.
question. When we are, if there is an applicant that has a criminal disqualifying factor, are we still sending that to our corporate office for additional review?
Yes, that policy will not change.
Okay, thank you.
There you go.
Nope.
Okay, so before we jump into some other stuff, let's talk about this real quick. So You get to this page, you're looking at a screening result for Charlene. While you're in here, you want to look at someone else's result for your property. There's a couple ways to do it. You can navigate back through CRM, right? You can go back to your dashboard, look up another guest, look up another resident, do it in that way. Search for another person, find the person you need, go into their results. So you could do that if you want to look up another result, or you can just click into, like you can open Charlene's result where you were, click on Find Applicant at the top, and this will show you all of the people run at that property using that particular report type, right? So if it's just like a regular applicant using Yardi screening, that's what you were looking for, you should be able to find them here for that same property. So these will show all of the folks screened at that property using that report. You can click on any of them individually. That'll pull into their result for whatever it is. If you don't see who you're looking for, you can punch in their last name on the left side of the screen, change your time frame, click on search, and that will pull them up as well. As we see mine go back several months. So you should be able to pull them up in that way if you need to. Just a little bit quicker than trying to navigate through CRM if you're just looking to check the quick status on a result. So a little bit of an easier way to get around that. Up next, applicants who are conditionally accepted or rejected are required by law to receive an adverse action letter. A sample of the adverse action letters that we have are listed here, conditional and rejection. You can see a sample of that here. We're just letting the applicants know we're thanking them for their recent rental application. We're letting them know about their individual result once it's all said and done, if they're conditionally accepted or if they're rejected for X reason, letting them know what that is. We give them our contact information. Again, if your team is utilizing these letters, we give them our contact information to reach back out to us should they have any questions regarding their screening. They can reach out to us to obtain a free copy of their tenant screening report, a free copy of their credit report directly from Experian, or if they have any questions related to the screening process, we can try to assist with those within reason. And then finally, if they wish to dispute anything within their screening result that they believe is inaccurate or incomplete at the time of screening. So as an example, if I get declined for screening today for a $500 cable bill, but I paid that cable bill 6 months ago and I can prove it, then that's something that we can dispute on my behalf. If I get declined today for a $500 cable bill and I say, whoops, I totally forgot, let me go pay it now and provide a receipt, that is not something we could dispute. That's not the same thing. It was accurate at the time of screening. So for those scenarios, your team would have to make the internal decision to say, hey, Justin got declined for this, but he paid it off. Do we want to, override and move forward, or do we leave it as it is? That's an internal management decision that you will have to review with your team. But anything that the applicant believes was inaccurate or incorrect at the time of screening, we can assist them with that. That same contact information is listed under our help section at the top of the page. Under consumer disputes, we have our phone number as well as our web address. They can reach out to us in either medium to initiate a dispute or request a copy of their report, etc. There's a couple ways that they can reach us. And then above that, we have our contact information, more specifically for your team, dedicated customer support structure. If your team has any questions, comments, concerns, errors, anything like that related to screening, we're always happy to assist you here. You can contact us toll free at this 800 number or email us rs_support@yardi.com. So we're always available. That said, I do encourage you to reach out to your internal management team first. I know that there's a lot of new stuff going on. Kimberly and I have been working pretty close together on getting bits and pieces of your team rolled out. So it would be important for her to understand if you all are having certain challenges, so we can roll that into future trainings and understand what those are to make sure that they're clear for everyone. So more than happy to field the calls, more than happy to hear from you all. We want to help you out, but let your internal team know first, just so they can collate some of those concerns and they might be able to assist as they may have seen it come up elsewhere. Any questions based on what I've touched on so far before I jump back into CRM and touch on a couple other things? Oh, okay. One thing I want to touch on real quick is I want to touch on international credit screening, since I know some folks mentioned they have a lot of new to country applicants. So let me set that up for us. One quick second. This.
And while he pulls that up, I just want to let you know this is an optional thing for those applicants that are international. And only certain countries it can apply to. But if they are ever interested in it, it's an extra $50 they will pay. Just in case they can't get you the other documentation, this is another option for them to use.
And let me show you that list real quick of where those folks are, and I'll talk about what it means. So up on my screen right now are a list of countries. So for applicants who are arriving internationally, right, they may not have established credit in the United States. Not having established credit in the United States could mean a higher deposit requirement for a given property because they'll come back as no credit. Right, it has nothing to do with where they're coming from or because they're not from here. It's simply that they do not have established credit where we look. So they're coming back in that way. For this reason, we've been able to partner with a company called Nova for international credit reports. And we're able to pull international credit reports from these countries that are up on my page right now. Australia, Brazil, Canada, the DR, India, Kenya, Mexico, Nigeria, South Korea, Spain, and the United Kingdom. So if an applicant comes through and they get no established credit, maybe they have to pay 2 months deposit instead of 1 month deposit. If you know that your applicant is coming from one of these places, you could ask the question, hey, do you have established credit in South Korea? Do you have established credit in Spain, where we might be able to run that, find that established credit, and maybe in doing so get you a lower upfront deposit. As Kim said, it's a $50 opt-in for the prospect if we are able to find one of those reports. If we do find it, we will automatically pull that back into the screening result here for you. You will see a drop down here that says, Nova credit report found. And in order to send that to the prospect, you will actually have a link over here on the left side of your page that says Nova credit, and you'll be able to send that invite out to them. I'm trying to show you a sample of that now, but of course my test environment is being less than cooperative this morning, which is fantastic. But I promise it's possible, it's there. I think actually I have a guide that I can show you what it will look like. So give me just a second and let me try to pull that up. Yes, I do. Beautiful. Here we go. So it'll show up in this way in the manual invite section. So we won't set it up automatically. It'll have a section over here, international credit or Nova. You'll be able to invite the applicant, punch in their email. They'll get the email come through. It'll look like this. Where do you have credit, right? Do you have it in one of these 13 countries that we're looking at? They'll punch in all of their information as necessary. Again, it's $50 opt-in for the prospect, not for the property. They'll fill out all of their details as necessary. If we are able to find a credit report in that place, we will pull it back. We will turn it into a 3-digit score that we are familiar with here, and we will pull that information back. It'll look like what we have here, as I said, a PDF file. It'll give us that international credit score of 650 or higher, and then you'll be able to see that, and then, hey, they move forward. So again, the value add is for prospects, hopefully paying a lesser deposit, right? And giving you that sense of confidence that they do have established credit as well, even though they're new to the country here. They do have established credit. So at the property level, you get that sense of security. At the prospect level, maybe they're paying a little bit less as well, and sort of proving their mettle in a sense. So if that comes up, always a possibility, not very common, but again, there are those 13 or so countries where it's possible. So if your folks are coming from there, that might be an option that you can float to them if they are coming back as no established credit here in the States. Any questions there? I do see a question. For international prospects, can we offer the guarantors as an option? Kim, I defer to you there. If those folks are coming back as no established credit, is the guarantors program a viable option for them? Or would you rather them go a
We
different route?
Carlos, for your question, we have a whole guarantor section on the policy that we can review tomorrow. The international prospect, as long as they have somebody, if they have two options. One's a guarantor co-signer, and they have to be continental United States. Or if we can go into details tomorrow, but the guarantors is another option, but they have to be within the United States. Hopefully that answers your question for now. We can delve into it a little bit more tomorrow.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Justin, since you're in this screen, I see corporate applications. Can you just click like how we would do that if we needed to add an occupant?
Yes. So today, if you're adding corporate applications, specifically the business, not the person, what your team can do is you go into a regular screening result from anyone at your property. Doesn't matter who they are, just a recent screening result, just to pull up this page, view the result, pull up this page. And at the top, you'll have this corporate applications button. From here, if you click in this is where you can enter in your corporate application information if you have one. So if Home Depot comes to you and says, hey, we want to rent out 3 of your units for some of our folks that are going to be coming to town for 6 months, or 1 a month for the next 12 months, whatever it is, they come to you and say, hey, we want to rent out some of your units. You have to fill out a corporate application for them, right? So to do that, you can do that just through here. Click on that corporate application section at the top. Punch in the all of the necessary details. Obviously, get these from that corporation, all of their information, business name, phone number, federal tax ID if they have it. Ignore the site code. You don't need that. That doesn't mean anything. And then their address for that company, all that information, secondary as necessary. Click on process. And then that information will come over to my team, and my team will run a business IntelliScore report for that corporation. Usually within a couple hours, that process is done. If we have any questions, we'll reach out directly to the property. But usually after a couple hours that is done, we will upload the results that we see back into this section, and you'll be able to see them listed here under the last 10 corporate applications, or you can click search all and you'll be able to pull them down here by punching in, whatever the business name is, in that way. So again, not tied to that specific applicant, in this case, Charlene. It's not stating that Charlene works for them. Charlene is not in any way associated with them. We're just using Charlene to get to this page and then clicking on corporate applications to enter in that business, that Home Depot, etc. If you are approving Home Depot, you're like, yep, Home Depot is great. They're fantastic. We will rent to their people. Then from that point, in CRM, you build those guest cards however you normally would. Someone walks in the door the next day, says, hey, I work for Home Depot. They told me that they're going to cover my bills. They told me to come see you. Your team builds out that guest card however you would for that corporate applicant, and then continue forward as normal. Generally, I think for those you would do a criminal only, but Kim, correct me if I'm wrong there, if they're not financially responsible for those corporate units.
No, they just do a criminal only.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. So they walk in the door, do their thing as usual. You build out that guest card as you normally would. And then for those folks, instead of running a Yardi screening report, you are running a criminal only report. So just the word criminal for report. And then you get a result, effectively like Charlene. It's just only criminal stuff, letting you know whether or not they meet requirements. So that's how to screen corporate application entities for the purposes of renting to their folks. Up next, I want to look at, before we jump again into VOI stuff, I want to look at the guarantor. I want to look at screening guarantors. This is different than the guarantors process, right? We say the word guarantors a lot. This is different than the guarantors, which is a separate program. This is how to screen guarantors in our system. Very similar to screening regular prospects. So I'll show you that, and then we'll open it up for questions and then jump into VOI stuff. So an applicant gets processed. Maybe they're a student, maybe they're an adult, whatever it is. They get screened. Maybe they don't make enough money. Maybe their credit's not good. Whatever the scenario is, your team decides at some juncture that you are going to screen a guarantor for them, right? You are going to screen mom, you're going to screen dad, you're going to screen their uncle or their friend, whatever it is, you're going to screen those folks as a guarantor to see if they are financially qualified to help support that unit if necessary. To do that, what your team would do is go back into CRM and either add them or invite them, however your team does it. But ultimately, they needed to be added as an occupant here in CRM, where you fill out all of their details just as you did an occupant before, a roommate before. Fill out all of their details. The big distinction is the relationship type field. This has to say guarantor. Now, again, I don't want to get lost in the minutia. I don't want to confuse anyone if I can avoid it. This guarantor relationship type is specifically for people who will be screened as a guarantor within screening, right? Again, not related to the guarantors program, not related to someone who is going to come on as a roommate or cosigner. I think you guys use that word for roommates as well as add-ons. This relationship type is not used for any of those. This relationship type of guarantor is specifically for mom, dad, uncle, sister, brother, who is going to be financially responsible if this person goes bad, but they will not live on site at that unit or have anything to do with it. So that's what this relationship type is. So you fill out all of those details for your guarantor, click on save. Continue working your way through this process, right, with your guarantor, making sure they're in here, making sure you have all of their details built just as you would everyone else, all the way down. Once you're done with that, you click on screening at the top, again, making sure that your guarantor comes through. If you don't see them, you'll click update results. You'll see it up here. Click save, and then your guarantor will come through. You will grab your guarantor from that drop-down menu, just as you did your other folks. Running through the same steps. Is their photo ID verified? Yes. Are they active, included with request? Yes. Is their applicant type listed as guarantor? That is very important. It has to be, but that'll be driven by that relationship type change that we made. So applicant type guarantor, yes. Fill out everything else, all your address details, employment information, obviously very, very important for that as well. Once all that stuff is done, you click on save, and then you run that new reports, whether it's up at the top or at the bottom like we saw before. And your new report type will be guarantor. Again, this is specifically for those individuals who are going to be financially responsible for that unit, mom, dad, sister, brother, uncle, but they're not living there, right? They're only to, financially support if they go bad, something like that. So you run that guarantor report type, click on select, and it will run a report as normal. It will run their credit, their criminal, the civil court, their rental history, etc. And in the end, what their results will look like is something to this effect on the right here. It'll say either they are a qualified guarantor, or it will say the guarantor does not meet requirements. And the reason for that is, as you would expect, the guarantor criteria is more strict. It is more strict. It's still running for credit. It's still looking for criminal, civil court, all those other things. But it's also looking for a higher income deposit than your regular applicants, right? And this is by design, because they're going to have to cover the cost of their own bills as well as the applicants, should the applicant go bad, lose their job, etc. So it's going to say qualified guarantor or guarantor does not meet requirements. And you're going to see that on that screening result page where we were before with Charlene. Instead of, Charlene accepted at the top or accepted normal deposit, it's just going to say qualified guarantor or guarantor not qualified, whatever it is. If it says qualified, then you move forward with that application as normal. There's nothing additional you need to do. You do not have to go up to the guarantor's program. You have that guarantor's information. You have them in there. They're qualified. Mom or dad is fine. You move forward with the application. You move forward with the move-in, execute the lease once everything else is done that you need to. If the guarantor is not qualified, right? If guarantor does not meet requirements, at that point, your internal team, and I think Kimberly, I think you're working on sort of a flow chart for this for the team. At that point, it comes down to your team to say, okay, this guarantor did not meet requirements. Are we going to go find, another mom, another dad, another brother, another uncle to see if they qualify? Or are we going to say, nope, I'm sorry, your application is declined? Or are you going to then send them to the guarantor's program to see if the guarantor's program will help them? And then I guess the fourth possibility is you could have them have another roommate move in with them who also makes sufficient money to help them bridge that gap. So a couple possibilities, but just want to make sure that the team understands the distinction there between adding a guarantor, mom, dad, uncle, versus the guarantor's program, which is like a separate entity outside of this process. I'll pause for a second. Hopefully that can sink in a little bit. But any questions there? And then Kimberly, anything to add there?
No, I think you were very thorough.
I see a couple questions pop in. Looks like Kim answered those. Perfect. Okay, any questions on the guarantor stuff? Don't be shy. Don't have to be shy. You can let us know. If you want to message Kim separately, secretly, if you're shy, that's okay. Kim can read it out anonymously. But any questions based on that stuff for guarantors? No? Okay. I guess just the last notion for guarantors, right, is guarantors are solo. Guarantors are not roommates. They're not pals. They're not tied in. Guarantors' income have to stand on their own. So if Justin's moving in and he makes $1,000 a month and that is insufficient, and then Kimberly is going to be the guarantor, but Kim makes $4,000 a month, and that by itself isn't sufficient. But if we add those two numbers together and get $5,000 a month, that is sufficient. That is not how a guarantor works, right? A guarantor has to stand on their own, by themselves, always by themselves. So keep that in mind. If you are combining the money together, that is a roommate. That is not a guarantor. They should both be screened as such, as roommates. If it is a guarantor, that is a separate, independent, individual person, and that person has to be screened on their own and pass on their own merit. Otherwise, you have the prospect utilize a guarantors type program to cover, whatever risk or overages might be necessary. If nothing else there, I think I can shift into income verification. So that is screening at a high level for those that aren't familiar with it already.